love an unfair question.
Okay.
Love being unprepared. Love to be ambushed.
Okay. So the number one cornerback in the country committed to Alabama yesterday, which, is ho-hum news for anybody that's not covering recruiting. But my man's name is JaQuincy McKinstry.
Okay, the Cockney rhyming slang of that name, like, he's either gonna be trash or a Heisman.
Oh man! All right, so plays both ways and plays basketball. I think he's gonna get to play basketball at Alabama too, right? And I think they're expressly gonna ask him to play corner at Alabama. And the comp is Trevon Diggs, right? He of my illustriously garbage Dallas Cowboys, but pretty outstanding for Alabama in the last couple of years. Anyway, do you know what this man's nickname is? And I'm all anything you want to throw against the wall, and then I'll tell you.
Is it Candyman 3 times?
Man, that'd be so good, especially with Halloween this weekend. That'd be so good. But my man's nickname is Kool-Aid.
Okay, I don't hate that.
And no,
don't hate that at all. Oh yeah.
Do you know his grandmama nicknamed him Kool-Aid?
Okay, so the story about this is that he just really loved Kool-Aid.
No.
Run around having Kool-Aid tongue mouth, right?
No.
That has to be what the nickname is. It can't be anything can't be anything interesting, right?
No, it's wild and it's not interesting and yet it's perfect. My man gets born, his grandmama sees him, and his grandmama sees him cheesing and says, Kool-Aid. Like the Kool-Aid man?
just like a nickname somebody would get from their grandmama.
Right, but this is also like, JaQuincy is probably number 2 on the all-name team because JaQuincy is also, in a recruiting class, or I should say not in a recruiting class, but very close to the same dude that let me go at this another way. The number 1 ranking for the recruiting names of all time, I believe, JaQuincy's probably going to be on like number 12 on the list, number 14 on the list, somewhere in there. The number 1 rank has to be Dakotas to ever do it.
I didn't expect that. You caught me in a real soft spot on that one.
His mama named him Dakotas and gave him the nickname to ever do it. My man is, or not the nickname, the middle name. His name is Dakotas to ever do it Crawford.
Truly wild.
Two guesses as to where he's going to college.
Duke.
Man, that'd be great.
Temple.
Though, okay, Temple makes more sense, right? Because, black colleges and whatnot. This dude going to LSU.
He oh my, the coldest to ever do it, right?
The coldest to ever do it, Crawford. Dakotas Crawford.
He has to show out. He has no choice.
Oh man,
you can't roll into a school like LSU where the recent culture is you got to be good.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't just be around all these dudes looking at you saying, so your name is that?
And of course,
you can't drop a pass. You can't miss a block.
No, and that's the thing. Dakotas is a whiteout. So and he's in the 2022 recruiting class. So we're going to get to see Dakotas to ever do it match up against JaQuincy Kool-Aid McKinstry in the SEC West.
This is why I love sports.
Right?
It's right there.
Oh my God.
You don't get those matchups whenever we talking about, I don't know, who's out there trying to run for like county sheriff. You don't get those.
No.
We don't get those whenever we got like 2 tax agencies next to each other.
I love this so much. This made me so happy. I don't know why it made me so happy, but it did. Because I'm going to be out here really yelling about Dakotas and Kool-Aid.
When you have the name Dakotas to ever do a Crawford, like let's say you, RJ, are out there in the world needing something. You say, Yeah, I got a referral from my doctor for the surgeon. His name is Dr. The coldest to ever do it. You feel like you are in very good hands, right? Like, oh man, I got a water leak to my house. My carpet is ruined. I need the coldest to ever do it restoration. You feel like I'm about to get the best, right?
Yo, man, like that's where my head went. My head went. I just caught a murder charge, and my blood is at the scene. They got 2 bodies at the house, and I'm in LA. It's not gonna go well for me. Forget Johnny Cochran. I need the coldest to ever do it, Crawford. Can you imagine what the injury attorney ads might look like?
DUIs, domestics, tax evasion. Call 555, the coldest to ever do it.
Oh my God. And this man is going to school in Louisiana, which is a wild offside state, right? Like Louisiana, California, New York. Those are the 3 wild offside states when we talk about state laws. So I really want this man to go to law school in Louisiana and be
I hope this man becomes an academic for the rest of his life.
Dr. Dakotas.
I want this man to be a man for all seasons. I hope he makes it to the Hall of Fame and then gets inducted into whatever Chamber of Commerce Hall of Fame as doctor, philanthropist, activist. I need to see this man become the coldest to ever do it everywhere. So I hope everybody listening to this says, you know what, I don't have a lot of pet projects in my life. There's people. The best way to support somebody is give him a little bit of money. Somebody started a GoFundMe for this dude. We will push him through to greatness.
This is the GoFundMe for Dakotas to ever do it. Crawford get through med school. Really need him as a neurosurgeon because somebody's gonna need a brain surgery and it's gonna be inoperable and we gonna call in Dr. Dakotas. I'm him. Like on some Michael Beasley stuff, right? On some Michael Beasley stuff at the Lifetime. Talking about I'm him. Get ready. Get this brain surgery.
So said this tumor can catch these hands.
Man!
Don't stand a chance in front of
Man!
the coldest to ever, Dr. The coldest to ever do it.
These hands don't move. They so steady. Like I need him to have his own wrestling promo.
Oh man, imagine 50 years from now, or maybe not 50, maybe 30 years from now, he writes a book and it's just Gifted Hands, but it's the coldest hands.
All right. For the recruit Knicks, because we here and I know that they're already yelling and stuff y'all having too much fun. We gonna keep having fun. This is a 5-star prospect, the number 24 player overall in the country, number 1 player at corner, and the number 1 player in the state of Alabama, right? Also, we're talking about comps. I mentioned Trayvon Diggs. Charles Powers says Marcus Peters, which is a good thing or a bad thing depending on what team Marcus Peters is playing for and whether or not you run in cover 3. Because if you run in cover 3 or cover 4, that's probably not a good idea if you got Marcus Peters. That's a real cover 2 kind of corner. Anyway, ridiculously good length, good size, tested really well. 40 time is unverified, but if you're going to Alabama and you get to commit to go to Alabama, I feel like we don't worry about your 40 times. State championships in football and basketball. Alabama Class 6A first team All-State on defense as a sophomore. This is the same state of Alabama where I swear every single year there's one dude coming out of Alabama that I'm like, wait a second, is that man human? You remember TJ Yeldon years ago? That dude from Alabama. And I remember looking at him going, ain't no way you a tailback. You run too upright. And he said, watch this. Speaking of TJ Yeldon, that's a name I hadn't actually conjured in some time.
No, that dude's still doing? He's still footballing?
I don't think so. I read a Bruce Feldman piece earlier this morning about Corey Harris. He's a firefighter.
Carrying that fireman's ladder upright too.
In Miami. Apparently, Ja'Cory Harris showed up to go through fireman's training at 2:49.
Huh.
Yeah. Not on some Mike Williams type stuff.
I was about to say, No, that's fine. I was about to make a big fireman joke, but there's a lot of big firemen out there.
Oh yeah, like when I wrecked my motorcycle, that was a big fireman. Just arms, just like 17-inch pythons. I remember talking to dude about his arm workout. He's like, "Yo, man, genetics." But I hit it hard. But I hit it hard.
Firemen out here look like Ed Hockley.
But for real though, like dude is bandaging me up, and I'm looking at his biceps just twitching, and I'm like, "Yo, man, what are you doing?" You know, because I'm thinking you're on the gas, and he's like, "Nah, man, all natural."
My dude RJ folded up on the highway after falling off of his bike. The only thing you think about is like, man, I need to get this workout routine.
But
Let me know.
you all right. Remember who I am when I'm 17, right? I am just like blossoming physically. Like 6 months from then, I win a national championship in powerlifting. So all I'm thinking about is swallowing muscle milk and getting these reps in, right? And I mean by 4 to 6 range, right? 8 is a lot. So when I see this man pull up, you know, to help put me back together, I'm like, yo, is you really bursting out of your fireman's uniform? Like, cause you know, they ain't show up like in full gear and whatnot. Man got on a t-shirt, but that t-shirt is super medium. And, you know, like you could see that he got that Michael J. Williams bulge in his legs, even in the firefighter pants. I'm gonna notice. I'm gonna notice. You know, and then we get to talk a little bit about, you know, muscle and fitness and whatnot, who's on the cover. Because this is back when Vince McMahon was still on the cover of this stuff, right? You didn't see too much Rock. And I think Jay Cutler was in the middle of trying to unseat Ronnie Coleman. Might have just done it, actually. So, like, I'm heavy into it by then. But I thought about TJ Yeldon because TJ never looked to me like a tailback. And yet, it's like, watch this. I'm going to show you. And I think JaQuincy Kool-Aid McKinstry has the chance to make us remember him for way more than his name, though that's going to be hard as hell. Because, like, I can't wait to see this man in 2023. I can't wait to see Dakotas Crawford in 2023 because I'm going to see saying their names every single time they line up across from each other. Dakotas on Kool-Aid. Kool-Aid on Dakotas. And it's like, I'm not just Dakotas here. I'm Dakotas everywhere, which is, you know, factual. Do you know how mad I would be if that had to be my homeboy? I got to call you D. I can't call you your name. And what do you say to a woman when you trying to talk? What do you say? Do you say your name is D? Do you say your name is Crawford? What do you say?
Yeah, you're probably right because the dudes out here, like, we are having fun, but I feel like this may be like 60-40 fun clowning.
Mm-hmm.
And that has to be the world that you live in. So, you know, Dakota's maybe DC Crawford. Like, all right, that's all right. And then it's not until like he pulls out a debit card or his driver's license. Like, wait a second, what's this say?
Like, oh, can
and
you?
Then there's a lottery point whether like she stays.
Well, I mean, all right, you get pulled over by Louisiana PD and you show them your driver's or they hand them your driver's license, they're gonna pull you out the car.
I mean, they were gonna do that anyway.
Ooh. Oh, I just want one of the cops to pull it out, to see it, and be like, "I'll be right back," and then call his homeboys. And just call one homeboy after another.
They wouldn't do that anyway.
Ron is refusing to have fun with this joke. Okay, I'm gonna get off of that. This man said they gonna do that anyway. Oh my god. Last point I'll make. Actually, I don't think I will make that point. I will say this. LSU. Oh my god. I'm trying to think about who this man gonna bring home. More to the point, who's gonna bring him home? You brought Dakota's Crawford to my house. I look at you. Whose daughter are you?
No, it's gonna be somebody. It's gonna be a woman that goes by her middle name because the first name is like 90 years old. It's gonna be we're gonna get a wedding invite from the coldest to ever do a Crawford with them with Gertrude Taylor. It's gonna be
Gertie.
Yeah, Gertie and the coldest. That's what it's gonna be. Elaine and the coldest.
This is
The
Margot. This
coldest
is
than
the
Mary
cold.
Lou.
Oh God.
The coldest than maybe a Maddie.
Ooh. Ooh. I can't wait. And you know what? Let this man show out at LSU. Let this man show out there. Like just enough to where everybody remembers his name, like Rohan Davey. You know what I mean? Like just enough. But TJ Finley also showed out. 6'6", 260 pounds, true freshman. I really enjoy him. And this man is a one-step, throw a ball 70 yards type of quarterback. So that was fun to watch, even as LSU is having all the problems. So Ron, I watch Ohio State versus Nebraska because I'm very interested in this Ohio State football team. I also have, well, be sure to check the Twitters and the Wednesdays because I got this big thing that's going to be coming out pretty soon that I'm very excited about. But I did not expect for Ohio State to struggle like they did on both sides of the line of scrimmage. They couldn't run the ball, and they couldn't stop the run, which is very un-Ohio State-like, at least in recent years. Because, like, they came out trying to run this this single high concept, cover 3, where they basically allow for that 4th DB to be like, a nickel in the box. And yet, all of this is predicated on you being able to get tremendous push from your defensive line, and your linebackers are clean sweepers. And I look at their linebackers, and I like everybody that they got. Pete Warner, Tuff Borland, Baron Browning. Baron Browning is that dude that's 240 pounds that ran 11-1 in a 100-meter dash in high school.
That's very fast for being that big.
Right.
That's very fast for being that big.
Out of high school. So now you with Mickey Marcotti, who's just got you all sorts of swole, and you've been waiting forever to try to play because it's been loaded at your position. So now he's just kind of out there being a freak. And then they had a dude that's quite literally shot in I think Haskell Garrett was shot in the face. I got to make sure I get this right because I know that Ohio State fans going to feel some kind of way if I get this wrong. Anyway, Haskell Garrett got shot and was like bleeding out and had to go to the hospital. And that man is playing defensive tackle against Nebraska like a month later. What is he made of? Like he had a sack in this game 8 weeks after being shot. In the face. Stuff. I was right. In the face.
Yeah, you special stuff. Because I know if I got shot, I'm milking that for all. So, if I'm able to walk away with it and talk about it, I might be broken a little bit, and I'm also gonna milk it. So it's like, yeah, dog, can't make it to weights today. Now, Teach, I'm sorry, I couldn't turn in that assignment. They got shot in the face. I say that this is what I've learned from consuming entirely too much true crime in my life is that you can get shot in the face 100 different ways and it not be threatening. Like say if it goes through one cheek and not the other, man, you can still sip on a straw at the end of the week.
Ask 50 Cent, the world's greatest troll. Although
I mean they lit 50 up
9 times. Yes, 9 times.
I was about to say if you get shot in the face and you're able to play football, I'm going to say that this situation was a whole lot more scary than it was devastating.
Oh, yeah, 100%. And it was, like, right there in Columbus. Matter of fact, it was Columbus police, like, on campus that had to field the call. He got, like, there was a shell casing near, 400 block of Chittenden Avenue around 12:28 in the morning. And they had that man admitted to Ohio State's Wexner Medical Center after he was bleeding out. Dude is from Vegas. Out there he's 22 years old. All right, so what y'all doing in Columbus? Like, that was the other thing that I wanted to know about. Like, what was going on in Columbus that night? I didn't know that's how Columbus got down. I was wrong. I was so wrong. But if you got dudes like they got Penn State this weekend, right? A Penn State team that got beat by Indiana in a game where they held the ball for 40 minutes. Anyway, if I'm an offensive lineman and I know the defensive tackle in front of me got shot in the face, and it's not only playing, but was like good in his first game back 8 weeks after getting shot in the face, I don't think I want those problems.
There's nothing that you can do to get inside their head. What you can do, talk about everything that you say is just going to be a low-key brag. It's like, oh, look at this dude getting shot in the face. You saw. Nah, that didn't work.
He said, nah, that didn't work.
I bet this dude think he's 50. Like, I mean, I know these are kids, so it's not as if they got the power of a dollar off the tip of their tongue. But it's like, nah, I bet you about to drop a mix. Nah, that didn't work either.
Yeah, and you got that dude for 60 minutes. You got that dude for 75, 80 plays. Nah, I'm
No,
good.
man, you got to do the trash talking version of like just keeping your hands in your pockets and just hope that you better than they are.
Well, and like he's not like he's good, but the most talented dudes are out at end. Tyreek Smith, Zach Harrison, Jonathan Cooper decided to redshirt last year and not play in the Big Ten championship game or the Fiesta Bowl so that he could come back and play football this year at Ohio State. Right? So, like, I can't imagine what that dude's, like, last 10 months have been like because, you know, it's been all over the place whether or not Big Ten's going to play, let alone Ohio State get an opportunity to get back to a college football playoff. But offensively, like, that offensive line, like everything at Ohio State, is the best north of the Mason-Dixon line. And they were expecting to be able to run roughshod over people like they did last year. And yet, even with Trey Sermon, Master Teague, who blew his Achilles in March and is playing football in October, okay. And then Steel Chambers, who's not really a tailback, but, you know, is a tailback, they weren't able to move the football. Like, it was really until like the third quarter, middle of the third quarter, before I saw an Ohio State running back run for more than 8 yards, like on any one play. So I didn't know what to do with that against a Nebraska defense that I swear would be good if they didn't just knock people in the heads all the time. Like that was also disconcerting because like toward the end of the game, when the game is out of reach, it's like 38-17, it's getting to be 45-17. Nebraska, like linebackers and safeties had just decided we are hitting everybody. And toss us if you want to. That's how it looked. I don't think that's what they were actually saying to themselves. But the way that they were coming in for these vicious hits, like at one point, Joel Klatt is in the end of the game going, Ryan Day, get Justin Fields out of there. Like, get him out of there. Like, I don't like the way that this game is going. And, you know, people use chippy when they ought to be just saying fight. Because, like,
Right.
Like, these dudes literally want to fight each other right now. And you're saying chippy. No. Because, like, at one point, Justin Fields gets crunched, like, right after Joel Klatt's like, what is he doing in here? And I looked at it and I said, please get him out. Because, you know, Nebraska knows who they are this year. And remember that they campaigned to get this kind of whooping.
I know. That's what I was about to. That's what I was about to say. Is that everybody in Nebraska was gifted the chance to defend themselves from their mutiny by trial by combat. So they had to look good at this. I mean, and I won't say that they did look good, but they knew for a fact that they had to show out and put helmets in people's teeth, even win, lose, or draw.
So Ryan Day brings in one of the true freshman quarterbacks, which is kind of, you know, it's real inside Ohio State, but we want to know which one of those dudes was going to be the number 2, Jack Miller or C.J. Stroud. A lot of folks thought C.J. Stroud was going to be that guy because he goes ranked from 847th to winning Elite 11, finishing as the top 40 prospect in the country. Late offer from Ohio State, signs with Ohio State. Jack Miller, coming out of Arizona, had committed to Ohio State like a year and a half before we get a commitment from C.J. Stroud. Anyway, Jack Miller comes into the game, which is good for him. He's actually got the Justin Fields measurables and, you know, looks the part, can play the part. So instead of taking a knee, Ryan Day lets Jack Miller go rush for the touchdown and get in there to make the score 52-17. You got Ryan Day apologizing for not taking a knee. And then Scott Frost was asked about his apology today, and Scott Frost, for once, said something I agree with, which was, yo, if we wanted the score to be different, we need to play better. Because, like, in this day and age, I don't think that you should have to take a knee anymore. I think you should be able to run it up. Especially in the COVID 2020s where, you know, what is it going to be? You don't know if you get to play next week. Matter of fact, did you hear about Graham Mertz, quarterback at Wisconsin?
Tell me about it.
Okay. So Friday night, the freshman, not the true freshman, but the freshman Graham Mertz gets to start at quarterback. And Wisconsin's a running team, and yet they are opening up and letting him toss the ball around. This dude had like 18 straight completions without a drop and torches Illinois. It's Illinois, but still. Illinois beating Wisconsin last year is some vengeance there. I believe the score is 45-17 or 45-7. And then on Sunday, Graham Mertz gets popped with the COVID, which, tested positive. We knew that was going to happen in Big Ten. But the way that the rules are structured, Graham Mertz can't play football again for 21 days. He has a 21-day quarantine, which means that the next 3 weeks of football games are out for him as quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a dude that, had immediately in some people's mind made Wisconsin into a college football playoff contender because nobody's going to beat them in the West. And then, if you can pass the ball on Ohio State, you might actually be able to win that game in the Big Ten championship. And knowing that Ohio State does not look, like it did last year, at least to start, and they're still trying to figure out what they got with a new defense coordinator, as the defense coordinator is trying to run the scheme that they were running last year. But, as Jeff Hathley, who was defense coordinator last year, new head coach at Boston College, said this year, it's really hard to fix what's not yours, right? So, this would have been the year, I believe, that somebody could have taken apart an Ohio State secondary, as wild as that is to say, and Graham Mertz looked like the dude to do it. And now, there is no Graham Mertz for 3 weeks of football. Again, this is what the Big Ten campaigned for. This is what they will allow for them to come back for. So I kind of feel like, as Kevin Warren was taking all this, quite literally hell, for being the bulletproof vest for the president's chancellors to cancel football, he also was able to get with the medical personnel, said, I want this to hurt if they test positive. I want this to hurt. And now this is going to hurt.
Well, I don't want to frame this as like this is a punishment, because it's not as if I haven't been on a whole bunch of email chains from other universities or organizations where if you get tested, hey, you are now on sick leave for pretty much the exact same amount of time. Being out for 3 weeks, the worst thing that's going to happen besides maybe like dropping a game or two, because you don't want to be a top 15 ball club and then lose your quarterback for 3 weeks, but the fan base is going to be screaming, we want Mertz. Mertz is going to be screaming, we want Mertz. And it's going to be just real tough because it's going to be 3 weeks of, I would say, you lose access to the top quarterback, and you're going to look at the other quarterback and still a whole bunch of be like, we wouldn't be in the position if Graham was back there. And Graham's just going to be at home playing Among Us, talking about, yeah, you're right. Man, I got an uphill battle because I showed out in my first game, and now week five? Week 5, I got to show back up and continue being the 20 for 21 dude.
Yeah. And that obviously is affecting, but affecting in another way. Because, what if Graham Mertz does pop up? I forget what game this was, but Jordan Phillips was dominant defensive tackle that year for Oklahoma. And Jordan Phillips wasn't playing football. He was at home hurt or something. And this man is tweeting during the game about how bunk Call of Duty is. And he was getting destroyed. So I can only imagine if Graham Mertz gets out here talking about, can't wait for the NBA to come back during a Wisconsin football game. That's what I want. I want Graham.
Why are you prepping for Northwestern, Graham?
I want Graham to be out here tweeting about Giannis and the Bucks during a Wisconsin game. Just so I can see how the vitriol goes. Yo, man.
Twitter are gonna go crazy.
So, your Oklahoma State Cowboys get the Texas Longhorns this weekend in a game for which Oklahoma State gets to try to supplant itself as a top-tier program. Somehow, Oklahoma State ranked number 6 in the country. I get they beat Iowa State 24-21. Iowa State also lost to Louisiana Lafayette. The thing that bothers me about this game is Oklahoma State's defense is actually pretty good. They gave up a couple of long runs to Breece Hall, which led to 185 yards rushing on 20 carries last weekend. But on the whole, their secondary has been playing pretty decent football when it comes to, stopping pass plays. So, If Oklahoma State has to stop Texas throwing the ball, I think that goes well for them. However, if I am Texas, I want to run Tom Herman's power spread for the first time all year. I want to run and run and run against a weaker front seven, I think. Whereas Oklahoma State is going to hope and pray that Spencer Sanders doesn't turn into the turnover pumpkin that he turns into every single game. So knowing what I told you just now about Oklahoma State and Texas, do you think Texas actually shows up to spoil the Oklahoma State, we're going to go undefeated parade? Or is Oklahoma State actually going to beat this Texas team that's not very good?
Oh, let me ask you this: do you, in your heart of hearts, you gave me this small little rundown?
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel that Oklahoma State are also not that good? Like, are you? How do you feel about them?
I think that they are as good as their quarterback is. Like, I feel like their ceiling is their quarterback, and the better quarterback is on the bench. Like, Spencer Sanders got hurt. 6'5", 240-pound Shane Illingworth shows up and starts throwing dimes and darts and launching bombs down the field. And then your man Mike Gundy comes out here and says, Spencer Sanders is the quarterback. Why? Well, because he gives us a dimension in the run game that we don't have with Shane. That's what Chuba Hubbard is for. Like, that's what L.D. Brown is for. You don't need your quarterback to be out there making it happen. Like, he's treating Spencer Sanders.
He runs his offense like he plays with his toys.
Man, but he's treating Spencer Sanders like, Zach Robinson 2.0. And that's not a good thing. Like, nobody should want Zach Robinson style play at their quarterback position unless they're Tom Osborne and it's 1995. Like, that's not who you are. You have Tylen Wallace out there. You got Braylon Johnson out there. You got Dylan Stoner out there. You got Brendan Presley whenever you want. And you out here talking about we need the run dimension from our quarterback? No, you need to distribute the ball to these wideouts and these tailbacks. And Sanders is going to throw the ball to the other team. Like, at the very least, I thought that would push it over the edge for Mike Gundy, who is a ball control freak and has sworn up and down that if he always wants to run the football. And yet I'm like, why are you throwing Spencer Sanders out here then?
No, I think that Mike Gundy wants to run the offense that he wants to run, not the one that gets him, that is the most efficient or the most effective, that puts up the most points. He wants the one that is the easiest to understand how he has drawn it up or wants it to be executed. I would say, like, as it comes to OSU versus Texas, I want OSU to go to win because I need them to continue the pro chaos movement. I need people to have the argument versus who's the real OSU, Oklahoma State, undefeated versus Ohio State, who has 2 DM plays on the schedule. I don't know. This was real tough. Like, because OSU has played a whole bunch of teams that are not offensive juggernauts, and Texas, if anything they can do is that they can score, they can move the ball. So it's a real C-tier, unstoppable force, first immovable object here. I don't know. This was push. I'm gonna say I want Oklahoma State to win because of emotional reasons, but there's nothing in the stats that would say that OSU's gonna handily walk away from Texas on this one.
Man, I have never wanted 2 teams to lose more than this game. I mean, Oklahoma State's walking into this game as a 3.5-point favorite. And I'm going, how? Now, maybe it's the Boone Pickens advantage. Maybe that's what you think. But I've said many times over, and I believe that Texas is the most talented football team in this conference. And if they decided not to make Sam Ehlinger the focal point of the offense anymore and made it about those 3 tailbacks that they got and just decided to ram the ball down people's throats, it'd be a very different football team. You'd be able to run your match quarters. You'd be able to get your defense into complementary football. Instead, you got Mike Yurcich going, I'm going to throw it deep. And you know that Mike Yurcich wants to throw up all the points against his former boss. He got to want that, right? And then it's that Sam Ehlinger ain't that good. And here's the thing that's really maddening to me. Like, the 2 quarterbacks that are backing up these quarterbacks, Casey Thompson for Texas and Shane Illingworth for Oklahoma State, are the 2 better quarterbacks on their teams. like from a pure ability standpoint. Now, you want to talk about talisman and leader and, who gets you gassed up and who doesn't, that's a different conversation. But if you're looking at skill, they're keeping the more talented dude on the bench. And, Georgia tried that with Justin Fields. It didn't go so well. Alabama tried that with Jalen Hurts. It didn't go so well. I'm saying there's, like, Texas A&M tried that with Kyler Murray. It didn't go so well. Like, at some point, something's got to give on that front. Especially if you're not winning football games. But even if you are winning football games, because, Jake Fromm went back to a Sugar Bowl. Tua Tagovailoa went back to a national championship game. So, like, even then, it ain't no guarantee. I don't feel that either of these teams is good. But I can't stand the thought of Oklahoma State being undefeated going into Bedlam. Like, that doesn't wash for me. Even in a down year for Oklahoma, even in a down year for Texas, like, that doesn't wash for me. I don't think that Kansas State is so great or Iowa State is so great either. But both of those teams took L's to the Sun Belt. At the very least, Oklahoma State can catch 2 L's this year and go 8-2 instead of being able to dodge games. And then, they dodged the Baylor game, which I think would have given them a hard time a few weeks ago, but now Baylor, man. So Baylor lost his 2 best tailbacks to opt-outs in the same day. And they're not just seniors, they're also what are single digits. And at Baylor, what the single digit it means is, like, you're one of the 10 dudes, right, that lead this team. It is a privilege to wear a single digit number. Okay? Both of those dudes have worn single digit numbers since Matt Rule put that in. And, Dave Aranda was smart to keep it. But they combined for like 8 rushes and 8 pass attempts or opportunities to catch passes against, who they play this weekend? It's not West Virginia. It's not Tech. I got to check. But those dudes decided to.
I was about to say that's tough.
They decided that they were going to opt out because, well, it wasn't going the way that they thought it should go. And this is at a Baylor school that, well, Texas, that's who they played. That's why I'm dumb. Texas won that game 27-16. They decided to opt out of the Baylor school that can't get the COVID under control. And add to it this year, the NCAA put that eligibility rule in. And what is that eligibility rule? The eligibility rule is if you opt out this year, you don't lose a year. Doesn't matter when you opt out. So, like, I can't wait to see how many dudes opt out after game number 9.
Oh, man, it's trade deadline time.
Right. And both Tristan Ebner and John Lovett are decent enough tailbacks to end up somewhere decent to play tailback. So Dave Aranda's team is already beginning to fall apart, even as, the team ain't very good and was not going to be very good this year. It just wasn't. I don't know that Baylor is a great landing spot for anybody. And Art Briles had to basically let his team run the university for them to be anywhere close to good. And that didn't go well. That ended one of the worst sexual assault scandals in sports history. And you're trying to recruit around that. And you're trying to keep up what Matt Rule had going on, which is not really recruiting and just trying to overdevelop the guys that you get. Because Matt Rule made it clear, I'm not spending any time on the phone with no recruits. Spending time with the dudes that are here, which is another way of saying, I don't recruit. I can't wait to get to the NFL where all I got to do is draft them. Draft them and cut them. That's what I get to do. I'm not trying to whisper sweet nothings into any kid's ear. I'm trying to coach football. Well, you're not a college football coach, which he knew. Dave Aranda is going to try to recruit off of that. We'll see, dog. And, like Dave Aranda's been coaching football since he was 19 years old, like college football. I can't imagine what that must mean for like a dude that's like 43 for you to be in this position right now. Like, do you think that he's like mentally in his 70s having coached college football for that long?
No, he's the wonder kid. He's the dude that is, how old is he right now? What, mid-40s?
Mm-hmm. 43.
Yeah, no, he's
43.
The one that's, he's like the dude that has the perfect pitch, can tell you every sort of arrangement that's ever happened, can break down every song, and then has a reference to 10 other ones. Like, I imagine that he's probably at this point a football genius.
But this is his first head coaching gig. Like, man was a defensive coordinator, I believe, at Delta State, and then like Wisconsin, and then LSU. And that LSU defense last year was not the reason they won a national championship. Even as they were talented, they were middle of the road. Like, I think Oklahoma's pass defense was better than LSU's pass defense statistically. So, like, I hear you, but that ain't the way that it's been. Right? That ain't the way that it's been. All right.
You only got to tap to be. You know what? Never mind. Because I was about to say that just because you know a lot doesn't mean that you know how to manage a group full of men and women. Just because you know you went to film school doesn't mean you can be a director.
It's true. It's true. And we're all fond of saying how little school you have to do a job professionally anyway. So, I don't know, man. We'll see. Ladies and gentlemen, that is Ron Taylor, who is as good on the fly as anybody that I've ever met in my life. I appreciate y'all for showing up at 2 o'clock because I have a conflict at 3 o'clock, and I quite literally asked my best friend to do a thing, and he did a thing for 40 plus minutes. If you like the podcast, please rate and review the podcast on, wherever it is you get your podcast. RJ Young Show, you know what it is. I will see y'all in a couple hours. Deuces.